We, at the top level, help companies grow faster than they can on their own.
When someone sits back and says, I'm not sure exactly what to do, that's where we can step in.
I only operate in win-win-win situations.
Thank you for joining me today. I've got Jeff Kennedy and Kevin Benek of Maverix, a forward-thinking, progressive consulting firm designed to help the real estate industry in a way that hasn't been helped before. Thank you guys for taking the time to chat.
Appreciate you taking time to chat with us.
Of course.
Great.
So before we dive into where you guys are currently, where were you before? So Jeff, you spent 13 years at leading RE.
Yep. I was the VP of Sales and Partnerships at Leading RE. So I was the liaison between 550 brokerages, 135,000 agents, and all the technology and non-technology providers out there. So my job was to find, vet, and then connect those to our network.
Which really gives you a strong understanding of the product that's out there and the product market fit for brokerages.
Yeah, I mean, with 550 brokerages all over the world, really, there's 550 different situations, different egos, different needs, different ways of making decisions. So I really got pressure tested to figure out very early who would be a fit for what, and be really good at connecting the right people at the right time so that everyone wins.
And then Kevin, you were at Properties and Christie's for 16 plus years. And so you were kind of Jeff's customer per se, right? The person that was actually signing the contracts and buying these products as a practitioner and user.
That's right. Yeah, I was in brokerage for 18 years, starting as an agent, and then moved to Ad Properties in 2008. As the company grew, my role grew, and part of that included Jeff calling and texting anytime there was something interesting that could be useful. But my buckets there really involved, and I had my hands in nearly every department in some way, but it really revolved around growth and around technology, whether it was proprietary or third-party integrations. It revolved around coaching and training, and then working very closely with the marketing team as well, but adoption overall, meaning, whatever was happening, whether it was in owned brokerage or across our franchise units, making sure that agents and broker owners have the tools and resources and everything they need to be able to grow their business.
And I do want to throw something in. Kevin was more of a prospective client than an actual client. I would call on this guy for 8 years. I show up at his office. I would Venmo him. I don't know if he bought a ton, but he was always open to the conversation. So I appreciated that.
So then we'll look at it this way. You both had pretty comfy seats at the table. Why leave and start something from scratch?
I think for me, which was more recent than Jeff, for me, I saw an opportunity based on my experience. So there were some shifts, we were acquired. And so I thought, for me, it was a good opportunity to take everything I'd done and learned and been exposed to and implemented and turn around and be able to help to support others, whether it was in Proptech or it was in brokerage.
I realized probably 2 years before I left Leading RE that I was there for 13 years, so 11 years before I realized this, that what I do and the people that I know is really quite valuable. And then I had a great job at Leading RE. That's a really good network, very well-known, respected brokerages in that network, but it's still a small island. It's just independents that are inside Leading RE. So as amazing as I may or may not have been in that little island, there's a bigger play. And so I just knew there was more that I could do. Whatever I was doing for them, just do it at a bigger kind of industry scale. And that's why I started Maverix.
Was there a specific moment, like prior to founding Maverix, that you said, it was a conversation or a deal or something that said the industry needs this and nobody's doing it this way, right?
I don't know that was the exact thought process. I think I had a decision to make where I could have gone and got a W-2 job, as did Kevin. We both were offered W-2 roles with good companies, with good compensation that would have been safe. That was easy. But I didn't want to leave a company I'd been with for over a decade, but I didn't want to get divorced on Friday and married on Monday. I wanted to kind of take a beat. And as I started to talk to people, I found out that there is a tremendous amount of need and desire for quality consulting and advisory services. No knock on anybody that's already in the space. And there's a lot of very good players out there, but obviously there's still room because people will, when we put the shingle out that we were doing or that I was doing advisory, I filled up within like 45 days. So there's obviously something that's not being met, and so I kind of reverse engineered that to figure out what's not being met and to create a company around that. And that was really the genesis of Maverix.
And for me, I think, one of the things that's interesting here where I saw in joining Jeff, first, I had known Jeff for a long time and I really respected what he was doing and his relationships that he'd created across leading RE and outside of it. And so that was attractive. But I also think for me, one of the things that's been really important, whether it was as an agent or when Ad Properties was small and we had 400 to 1,000 agents, or as we grew and started franchise units, was having an impact. Like that was a big deal to me. And so now Jeff mentioned the word broad, a broader scope. That's where I see this opportunity, which is taking all of the knowledge and things that were given to me and the experiences and being able to impact other people's lives. And that might still be agents, that might be other broker owners, that could be Proptech founders and leaders, sales leaders. And that's where I find, for me personally, so attractive and where there's sometimes a gap. Because we talk about being transactional in real estate, but I think it happens in the consulting world too. And so if we can have a real impact on somebody's life, sure, revenue leads, profitability drives, but at the end of the day, having an impact through those on somebody's life or their future is what really interests me.
Well, I think, this, I don't want to say it, what's the right word? It's not indicative, but like, this is kind of what the whole industry is. Your network is your net worth. Right. And, for Jeff to go within 45 days and be completely filled up on, his bandwidth and capability goes to show, I think, credibility, but also, just a testament to who he is, and, probably the ethics and the morals that he has that people, want to support and jump on to support somebody. Right. And that's your network. And that doesn't happen for everybody very easily. So kudos to that, Jeff, and to you, Kevin.
Thanks. I would say, just to add to that, I didn't know I was doing this, so I'd love to take credit for being so smart. I had foresight, years ahead. But one of my, well, still Mavericks' North Stars is we want to bring value to everybody we engage with, whether it's formally in an actual advisory engagement or just somebody we talk to. So I've been making, unbeknownst to me, small deposits in those relationship bank accounts. We sit and talk for 5 minutes. I may have an idea. You call me back and you're like, man, that really worked. Or an introduction to someone that you end up hiring to be VP of sales, or an introduction to someone that acquires your company. Or like, these can be really big, monumental sea change decisions or conversations that happen. But to me, it's just like, I'm just bringing value in this moment. And I'll have another moment with somebody else next. So because I did that for years prior to the decision to start Mavericks, when I put that shingle out, to your point, there's two pieces to it. One is there a demand? Obviously, yes. But if there's a demand with no trust and they don't know you, then that doesn't work either. You kind of have to have both. Otherwise, every single consultant that's out there that said the same thing that we say would be at capacity. That's not the case.
All right. So the real reason we're here today is to talk about, you guys just went through a rebrand and call it a refresh, rebrand. There's a new look, a new fill, and I think some of the messaging kind of changed. What was the catalyst for this? Was it that you were outgrowing your original position, or did you realize the market was seeing you differently than what you intended?
The word rebrand is interesting. This can mean lots of different things, like a complete shift. But for us, it was less of a complete rebrand and more of, Kevin and I talk regularly. We wanted clarity on what our messaging is. Now, again, when I started Mavericks, it was just me by myself. Within 48 hours, I had a website and a logo and an LLC created, and then I was into trying to build the company. So I didn't have time to really sit down and be intentional and purposeful. So this rebrand was getting clarity on who we're for, who we're not. To your point, what do we do? How do we bring value to people? How do we relay that to somebody in a way that's easy to digest and to remember, and easy for our team to all be saying the same thing over and over again when we're out in the field? And we worked with two amazing consulting people that do marketing consulting, and we came up with what you see now with our rebrand. So we're really excited about it.
So what's the core message now? If a brokerage CEO asks, what does Mavericks actually do at a cocktail party? What would the 30-second answer be?
Go after Kevin.
I think the answer is there's three things we provide. It's access, it's strategy, and it's execution. And so when we look at the needs of a brokerage, whether they really fit into one of three buckets or across all three, which is, growth. And that can mean anything from recruiting growth to regional or franchise growth to operations, which could mean operational efficiency or operational complexity as companies grow. And then the third is profitability. And so most brokerages have a need somewhere in there. And so if there's somewhere where we can plug in and create a strategy together and be able to execute, which is a key differentiator, which we'll probably bring up again, but get in the weeds in terms of execution, then it's a win-win. And I think that's important for us. This is outside of this quick elevator pitch, which is, it needs to, for us, we want to provide value. That's the key. We want to see results. We're not here to send over a report and be done. We're not here to provide some suggestions and good luck. For us, it's very much being involved in whatever that brokerage or Proptech company wants us to be, but really seeing it through so the results are realized.
That was good.
That was
Really
definitely
good.
not 30 seconds, but maybe Jeff can do it
My
in 30.
timer's different.
Yeah, it's a metric system.
Yeah.
I would say let's go back a step. Why would you engage with a consultant or an advisor? If you could do it on your own, you would. You'd be doing it right now. We wouldn't have this conversation. And that's totally fine. No problem. The analogy, I have workout equipment. I know how to use workout equipment. I know that I want to lose weight. I want to get more in shape, but I don't use any of the stuff. I need a trainer to come and walk me through it and meet me in my house and give me a workout plan and be with me and build a diet plan. I need that. I need that for me to do it. I wish it wasn't the case. I could save a lot of money if I could just be self-starting. It's not possible. So I think we at the top level help companies grow faster than they can on their own. Period. Now, how do we do that? New thing we came out with the rebrand, our tagline is access, strategy, execution. Most advisors offer one or two of those things. Yes, we'll give you strategy. We'll talk in circles. We'll tell you all the stuff you should do. Or we'll introduce you to people, and we'll give you strategy. They're missing the execution part. And so we offer all three. You don't have to pick. And I think that is one of the differentiators. And I think that's the direction advisory is going. And then that's why we like to use the word modern advisory, is that I think that's what people are going to expect as the industry continues to move forward.
And so when you define this new word, or, say we're going to coin modern advisory, what is a modern advisory to you?
That would be somebody that offers strategy and execution. That's what's different. I think the older kind of guard, and I'm not pulling anybody out, but like a lot of people, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish. Sorry.
I think a lot of people offer it. Strategy is easy. Anybody can give you strategy is just an opinion. Let's call it what it is. I sit down, look at your problem based on my experience or my knowledge, wisdom, whatever. I say, okay, based on that, this is what you should do. Literally anybody can give you strategy. Now, whether it's good strategy, different conversation, but strategy is the easiest thing to provide. Access is a bit harder. Access doesn't mean I met somebody one time at a party 3 years ago and I know them on LinkedIn and now I'm going to connect them with you and they're going to actually answer the phone and they're going to actually meet with you and be leaning in because they trust me. And they know that I'm not just randomly shooting referrals everywhere. They know because of my experience as leading our EVP, I only make referrals or connections where it's appropriate, where I know or think that will help the broker. I'm not going to waste their time just trying to check a box that I made an introduction. So because I've built that access, that makes the strategy actually actionable. And then there are some things, the execution part, that's not included in either of those other two, that's completely separate. And again, the execution is the part that's the hardest part. It is not fun all the time. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, and the stakes are high. So people stay away from it because why would I do execution if I could just get paid to do strategy? All right, we understand that. I get that math, but we do it differently. We're a modern advisory. We offer all three. Now you might not need all three. That's cool too, but we offer.
What is execution then? Because I think about it this way, frame it into a different perspective that other people might be able to tie to. You reference going to the gym and having a coach, right? Like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you guys are also coaching some of your customers, right? It's not consulting, which is, I think, an industry word or, a business word of consultant versus We have business coaches. We have coaching for life. We have coaching for relationships. We have coaching at the gym, which we don't necessarily call that person a coach at the gym. They're a fitness instructor. But you're not getting execution typically within a coaching environment. They're not sending out the postcards or sending out the email campaign. They're helping you craft the idea. You go over to some of the other consultants in business, it's introductions and access and strategy, but they also offer execution with certain things like white papers or this or this. So like, where's the difference with what you're saying in execution? Because you're not going in and facilitating the rebrand for them. You're not doing the white paper or building out this whole system of a CRM that they need in Go High Level or something.
Well, there's two conversations to have, and Kevin can speak to the brokerage side because I think they're different, right? Proptech and brokerage needs and language we use is a bit different. On the Proptech side, I don't see white papers as execution. White paper is simply gathering information and putting it into, basically it's a marketing play. It's an education play. As an example, let's say we have a client that wants us to help them grow. I want to grow. Okay, great. Let's look at your deck. Let's look at your pitch. The deck is a mess. Pricing's not right. The messaging isn't good. We need to clarify all of that. Giving you the keys, telling you it's not right, that's the strategy. Sitting down with you and going over it and all the iterations is the execution. And we go one step further. I'm going to have your salespeople pitch me. I'm going to record it. We're going to go back through it together with the salesperson to make sure that their pitch is perfect. Because if not, it doesn't matter how good the message, the pricing, and the deck is, if they're not executing it well, then every introduction that I make through the access is going to be wasted because they can't close the deal because they went the wrong direction with the conversation. So there is an execution arm. There is a actual working out with you arm. Again, it's the most time intensive part from a Proptech standpoint, but I do not think there are that many consultants out there that are doing that. But from a brokerage side, Kevin, I guess share what you think.
Yeah, I think from the brokerage side, it's really getting involved in the details with the team that is executing. And I guess the way I would define it based on several of the engagements I have now, which is shared OKRs and shared KPIs, where there's shared responsibility with me and the team, and to the point where I'm so involved where I'm in some ways responsible for the project. So when I say getting in the weeds, it's not me delivering something to a VP or a high-level leader and saying, okay, go implement. And again, it varies based on the engagement. But in my case, I'm heavily in the weeds with the ones on the ground, the folks that are going to be, again, involved in the shared responsibility for hitting specific targets in a specific time.
Yeah, and I have clients on tech side where I actually have KPIs. It's not introduction KPIs, it's actual metrics that we measure. So again, it depends on the engagement, depends on the company. Take a step back. Whether it's a brokerage or a prop tech company, this is what makes it interesting for me. If this was just rote rehearsal and everybody that comes in has the same problem and needs the same things, and we're just stamping metal in a factory and we're just kind of moving it through an assembly line, that is one way of doing business. Everybody that shows up, and this isn't going to be news for you, shows up with a different word problem. Different founding team, different problems, different challenges, different market, different product, different funding challenges, different everything. That makes it complicated to scale efficiently, but makes it super, super interesting. So we do an entire intake process. And the question we ask is, where are you now? Where do you reasonably want to go in a period of time? And how do you think we should get there? And if we can help you with that path, we jump in and we help you. If we can't, we're very self-aware. We tell you that's outside of our wheelhouse. But I probably know somebody that can, and I'm happy to refer you to them. Because again, always help everybody that you run into and that you engage with. That's still bringing value to them, whether or not they ever work with Maverix.
So if I could tag on to that, I think if I could add to that, Troy, really quickly, from the brokerage perspective, there's so many different variables, right? Where even though there are shared problems or complications or challenges across real estate on the brokerage side, every company has a different culture. They have different leaders. They have a different footprint. They have a different market. They have a different model. They have a different team leading. They have different budget or revenue goals based on ownership. So I think that rather than Jeff used the analogy, he's very good at analogies, of stamping metal. In brokerage, it's the same. It might be on the surface a similar challenge, but the solution, the strategy, and then the execution is different from brokerage to brokerage based on each one of those variables.
Who is a customer that you would refuse to do business with?
Interesting question. So I'll go a different route rather than it being on a negative side. Let's take a positive slant to it.
Okay, well, let me ask the question differently then. Who should absolutely not hire Mavericks?
That's interesting. That's a different conversation. Let me do the Venn diagram chat, and then we'll talk about who shouldn't hire. So they're different but equally important. Our Venn diagram is first circle. Do we like you as a person? Do we want to work with you? Do I want to engage with you on a regular basis and hang out with you? If the answer is no, it's probably not going to work. So it's going to kill it. The next circle in the Venn diagram is your product interesting? Is it something that might be able to open a door on its own because it's an interesting story, but with our fuel and our kind of access, we can accelerate that path. I don't want to take a bad product or even an average product and try to sell it. So if I like you and your team and you have a great product, and then third one is, are you well funded? We don't chase invoices. We're not working, for future equity. So if all those things are a yes, then we're likely a fit for you. But the circle that Venn diagram is in is, can we actually do what they need us to do? And that goes back to our earlier conversation about being self-aware. The separate conversation or question you just asked, which was who should not hire us? I would say companies that have an idea and not a product. I would say I'll talk for the Proptech side, Kevin will talk for broker side. Idea, not a product, no funding, and hoping that they catch fire and there's not any cash there and things are so tight that are they giving us a little bit of retainers their way of like, this is all of our money, please help us be successful. That's not how this works. And then the last one is, I need to work with founders that are ready to be uncomfortable and make some difficult decisions, because sometimes that's what it takes. I don't know many founders that have made it, that have played it safe. And our job is to kind of push you outside that comfort zone and to take mitigated risks, not just crazy risks.
Okay, Kevin, I don't want your answer here yet. If a founder wants introductions but does not want to fix the messaging, product alignment, or execution, is that a non-starter?
Yeah, why would I do that? I'd be wasting their time. I'm blowing any social capital I have with the brokerages that I connect people with are truly my friends. Like, let's start with there. I've spent 15 years knowing them, knowing their family. I'm friends with them. I'm not going to waste their time with something that's an average product or isn't right. I need to know. If you have a flat tire and Kevin has a tire store, I have no problem connecting you because I know Kevin's happy and you're happy. It fixes both problems. Everybody wins. But if you have a flat tire and Kevin has a bicycle store, why would I connect you with Kevin? No one's going to spend, you're spending all that energy and time to meet and schedule, and you get there and there's nothing there. So no, we're not.
Could just put air in the tire to get you along the road to the next store.
No, go find an actual tire store. That's what I would tell you to do. If you have a car.
If a company wants a brand polish but not operational change, are they a fit?
We're not a branding company. I can tell you that your baby's ugly, but I don't know how to fix that. So I can tell you that it's unclear. I can tell you that it's some of the challenges that we see, and Kevin's even better at this than I am, but we aren't branding people. We have people that work closely to us in our orbit that we're happy to refer them to, that do an amazing job, and we have them at different price points. So depending on the situation, I may refer them to 1, 2, or 3 of them and let them make that decision. So they'll still get a fix for that. It just isn't going to be us. We need to be really hyper focused on what we do and not be distracted by every little thing that comes up.
Okay, so Kevin, the website says you work with leaders ready to act decisively. What does decisiveness look like in practice?
Decisiveness in practice means making a move when the time's right. Or let's go back to who shouldn't reach out to us to work with us, and from the brokerage side, because it relates to what Jeff was saying, which is the actual desire and ability or open-mindedness enough to make a change despite legacy actions or resistance. So decisiveness is the ability to make a decision quickly based on the information in front of that person. And what I personally don't want to be involved in is a situation where I'm seeing the market change or I'm seeing things shift, the industry perhaps, while a brokerage or Proptech company I'm working with is humming and hawing over making a decision either direction. When you're frozen in time, nothing happens. If you make a poor decision, you'll see the results relatively quickly and you can adjust. If you make a great decision, it's a win. But by doing nothing, you're paralyzed.
There's a fallacy that there's risk in change, and the fallacy is that there's risk in inactivity as well and not making a decision to change. So there's risk no matter what.
That's right.
Very true. Okay, so if I put Maverix next to T360, Wave Group, 1,000 watt. What would you say is the clearest point of differentiation that shows up first?
Most handsome person, 1A, where I would start. That's not true. Mark Davidson's pretty handsome. I would say that we all play. I mean, listen, to even be mentioned after being in business for 2 years in the same sentence as those other companies that we deeply respect
So there
is
was an
is
Oxford comma between it.
okay. Good. Is great. I would say they all play a specific role in a specific niche in our industry. There may be a little bit of overlap here and there, mostly just with us and T3. But even there, T3 does many things that we don't do, aren't going to do, have no desire to do. Whether it's events, they're doing recruiting, they're doing white papers, they just do different things. Wave Group, I have never run into them in 2 years. They're really heavy in the MLS and association space. We don't dabble there. And Wave Group is one of our very close friends that we send business to all the time. And again, to your earlier question about rebranding and brand refresh, we would send them to 1,000 watt as one of our options. So there really is no overlap. Like, we have found a little spot in the middle, obviously, because there's demand. And some companies will work with us and T3, us and 1,000 watt, us and Wave, us 1,000 watt and Wave. Like, there's any number of ways to combine it. So there really is no overlap. There really is no competition.
When you guys are doing, things differently, even in the, the landscape of Swanepoel puts out their trends reports, Real Trends puts out the rankings, the others do the rankings, and you guys do 80 under 80. So where was the idea with 80 under 80 being your trophy, or your keystone?
Keystone's a good word. Those that know me know that I am fairly sarcastic and have a humorous side to me. And I was tongue in cheek making fun of all of the industry awards, not specifically. You got Inman, Housing Wire, Riz Media, T360. Everyone's got some version of, you're a pioneer, a trailblazer, whatever. And I kept seeing 30 under 30 and 40 under 40. I think I even saw 50 under 50. And I went to Kevin and said, we should do one. It's 50 over 50. And he was like, oh, that's funny. That's great. And then we started thinking about there might be some people that are like 51, 52 that might feel weirded out about being outed that they're over 50. And then you get weird asking people how old they are. How much funnier would it be if I just did 80 under 80? And the only criteria is that you were under 80 and I knew you. So that started out as a pure satire play. I can tell you that it absolutely crushed this year. I had people calling me and saying, how do I get my boss on there? What's the feed? So we're going to turn it into a real thing. But it started out as a complete joke just to have fun. And now it's actually one of our keystone things that we do throughout the year. So I'm excited to see what we do this year with it.
Yeah, I want to add to that because I think that I don't want to take away from the fact that the people that were on 80 under 80, that they are great leaders, that they are great people, that they are that's not a sarcastic piece of it. The people that we chose or selected are some of our very closest relationships and people we enjoy working with and have worked with over the years. So that's not the joke. I think it was the sarcasm about the concept of another list in real estate.
That's fair. And that's where Kevin is. He's my rudder. I'm all over the place. He's like, no, at first it was going to be truly just, are you under 80? And do you know Maverix? And then Kevin's like, well, wait a minute. This is an opportunity. Let's go and find people that we're working with, have worked with, respect. Not everybody on that list was Maverix clients. Some people were just friends of Maverix. Troy Palmquist was on the list, right? Friends of Maverix we trust, respect, like. So we morphed it from being just a pure sarcasm play into, a really cool collection of 80 smart people. And next year, I'm not sure if we're going to do you can't win 2 years in a row or not, but next year it will be a different group of people.
Do you have 160 friends?
No.
We better get to it.
Yeah.
What kind of shortcuts or growth hacks or quick wins do you not believe in?
I want to use an analogy, so you better go first, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think it's investment without consistency. I think it's missed expectations as it relates to certain investments, and that is to include event sponsorship. It's to include media buys. It's to include, and I think if I could go back to brokerage, it's really taking the advice that brokerage leaders give to agents, which is you don't send out one postcard and hope to capture a $5.4 million listing. It is the consistency. And so where I see the hacks, that don't work, it's where you invest one time in one thing and hope and expect that, 50 great conversations are going to come out of it. Or on the brokerage, and that's the Proptech side. On the brokerage side, it's investing in, a lead source, but not having the infrastructure to actually follow up and nurture and service those.
Well, I think this is an important question and great answer there. But if you guys didn't have the backgrounds that you had, the way you advised people and spoke to people about the problems or the real life scenarios that they're going through wouldn't have real life boots on the ground experience to help them. It would be textbook education that's trying to help people versus real life experience.
Yeah, thank God. If it was easier than that, you could have a lot. Anybody could do it. Like I really, and I'm not saying this to for any other reason. There's no organization or no two people that work together like Kevin and I that have the experience and the exact experience that we have. People have more experience. I'm saying that, but like it's a unique combination of two people that have had experiences that we've had that we can relay, and it shows up as wisdom. That shows up as telling somebody what not to do, which is just as important as telling them what to do. I can save you from a bad decision, which it will cost you millions of dollars, right? And to go back to your conversation around the shortcuts, I don't believe that there are any shortcuts. Our industry is very nuanced. Brokerage is nuanced. Proptech, nuanced. And it takes time to get in and get in the flow. And it takes time. So I had a client the other day that they wanted results. It was 60 days in. They wanted a certain number of results. We have a six month engagement. And the conversation I had with her was, this is an analogy. This is why Kevin's going to make a face. But this isn't a microwave dinner. We're not just pulling the tab, putting the microwave, and 30 seconds later you get the meal. I have to go get the ingredients. I have to wash them, cut them, prepare them, make the rest of the dish, put it all together in a presentation on a plate, and then I have to serve it, show it to people as a waiter. People have to choose to buy it. And it's a whole process. I can't fast that. If I fast track it, the food's not going to be good and the experience is bad. But to Kevin's point, consistency is 100% the name of the game. You can't be really good for 45 days and expect that to all of a sudden magically make a difference. You have to show up consistently, even when you don't want to, even when you aren't sure if it's going to make a difference. You have to go to a conference and maybe nothing happens for 2 days. And on your way out the door, getting into the cab, you run into somebody who runs a brokerage who says, yeah, this sounds great. And they sign. I've seen it happen. They sign up and it's a multi-million-dollar deal because you wouldn't have had that had you not gone to the conference early. Had you not gone to that extra social event when you just wanted to go to your room and go to bed, like you have to push through. And what that does is that creates serendipity, and that creates what looks like luck to people that are outside of you, but you know how much time, effort, and intent went into that.
Exactly what you're saying is instead of going and, being a recluse at an event, actually getting out there and networking, because the next, serendipitous relationship is probably standing on the other side of the court.
Well, yes. And, it's funny because if you're watching this, I got little unicorn t-shirts for me and my partner that said chasing unicorns, which unicorns in VC world is billion-dollar companies, startup companies that become billion-dollar companies. And I got matching headbands and wrist guards. By the way, I'm horrible at pickleball, and the outfit didn't make me play better. So when you go and show up to these social events, this is now coaching consulting for everybody. Just showing up is not enough. Sitting in the corner and waiting for people to come to you because you're so cool, not enough. Acting cooler than you are, not enough. Just be who you are. If you're a nerd, be a nerd. If you're funny, be funny. Don't try to be something you're not, but show up authentically and be open to every single person in that room has something they can teach you and is probably going to be a client. They just don't know it yet, or for sure a friend. They just don't know it yet. So I approach every interaction, every engagement, every event like that. And, it's worked out so well.
Which I think is a different approach to even the advisory work and consulting work that you do, is that you're at these events, you are present, and you're not just sitting, waiting for somebody to come to you.
Well, think about this. Let's say that you're at an event, there's 200 people in there, and there's 6 prospects in there somewhere. You don't know where they are. 6 companies that you've looked down the list. You're like, this would be great to work with. You may never meet those people. But I may meet 30 other people. And I've had this happen too, where I met somebody on day 1, and on day 2, I got a text from them saying, hey, I met a company. You should talk to them. And they're out there having their own conversations, doing their own networking. And now they know what we do. And they're like, they look good by connecting us to a company that has a problem, because we're the tire store now and they have a flat tire. They look good in the middle. They're now taking over the role that we have. But I wouldn't have had that had I not had the conversation with that person in the middle. So again, just making deposits into the relationship bank accounts with people. And the only way to do that is by being authentic, being human, and bringing value where you can, when you can.
So where do you draw the line between opening doors and overpromising outcomes?
I think for me, just because Jeff has a lot of experience in this opening doors, and that's part of the reason why, how I came to know Jeff. For me, that wasn't something I was necessarily doing. There was some level of sales as it related to franchise growth within our brands. This is something I'm very cautious about, where I think, for us, don't solely surround those introductions. I think that Jeff mentioned the word social capital before. I think if you overpromise here, you're going to not only become ingenuine as you're having conversations in opening doors, I think you're going to burn through social capital trying to meet quotas. And so the way that I know that I learned from Jeff, and the way that I do it now is it's an organic conversation. It's through asking questions. It's through learning where the need is and being able to find the right puzzle piece that fits, rather than having a quota of whether it's 10 or 20 or 30 conversations or meetings that you promise. It's more about opening the door to the right person at the right time versus jamming it into a 30-day.
Of that, I'll add to that. I really, really try to avoid promising outcomes that I can't control. I can promise effort, I can promise activity, but I can't promise that if I call 1,000 people or 1,000,000 people that anybody wants to meet with you. I can't make them. And I sure can't make them buy it. And that's where the science versus art comes in, right? Science is, I have this list of prospects and I just need to use some ChatGPT AI email system to email all 1,000,000 people at once. And if only 4% respond back, that's the science. I have no interest in ever doing that. I'd rather personally write a handwritten email to 1,000,000 people so that they feel and sense that it's me talking to them, connecting. It takes a lot longer, but my response rate is much higher, I promise. So on the art side, it's like understanding the nuance, understanding that this person's with brokerage X that's in the middle of acquiring brokerage Y, or they're owned by another company. And this person, although their title says this is really the decision maker. This person doesn't respond. So you have to see them in person. Like having all of this innate knowledge of how to kind of operate in this space helps us be more efficient and effective. And always, North Star, being respectful of the broker's time, right? And of the outcomes that the broker wants. Because again, if I burn that arrow by introducing them to somebody that's not a fit, I look stupid, client's not happy, the broker's not happy, everybody loses. I only operate in win-win-win situations, not lose.
So how do you balance trusted relationships with objectivity, especially in an industry where everyone knows everything?
I think this ties a little bit into what I said, where, we don't take on engagements that are 100% just introductions, right? I think everyone knows everyone, but the engagements and where Jeff's talking about, we give insight, and the experience comes from Jeff being through thousands of pitches, working with companies with his previous company. For me, it's sitting and being pitched thousands of times. And you can open doors and you might know the person and have a relationship, but it all comes down also to messaging. And when we talk about outcomes, if we talk about the brokerage world, and if adoption is an outcome or a desired result, it does come down to messaging. It comes down to the people involved, the process. It comes down to the product. So that's where I say, the opening doors, and even though it's a tight industry and everyone knows everyone, it goes much deeper to be able to create results.
And on the objectivity question, we won't work with 4 providers in the same space. So we don't have like every CRM, because that makes it really challenging. We try to limit that. We also don't pick winners. My job isn't to tell our clients who to work with. My job is to know the client well enough that when I make suggestions, and usually more than one suggestion, I'm giving them color behind why I'm suggesting these companies. So if you go to ChatGPT and look up, I don't know, top amusement parks in the United States, or you go to Google, do the same thing. It doesn't tell you go do this. It says, here are the 3. And then it also at the bottom says, this is the one we think is the best option. So I do the same thing. Of everything you're telling me, I think these are the 3 you should look at. I'd start with this one and then work your way down. And here's why. This one slants luxury. This one does big brokerages. This one is also a small company. You're a small company. It might be a good fit. I know the founder, like whatever. I can add color to it. That is so valuable to brokers who are sitting there. They know they have a problem. They don't really know where to go. They go to conferences and they have every vendor in the world come to them and give their card and try to do a 45-minute pitch in 10 minutes in a hallway. They can't really hear what's going on. And it all sounds the same. Every salesperson promises even stuff they can't do. They just promise them to get the sale. And it gets overwhelming, right? For the broker. They come to us. They don't pay us. And sometimes we refer them. Kevin and I both refer people that aren't even Maverix clients. My job isn't to refer Maverix clients. with that situation, my job is to serve that broker. So if they need something that's not something that's in our wheelhouse, maybe even, as a competitor, but it's a better fit, that's what we'll do because that's what we're supposed to do for that relationship. It's the right thing to do.
So what does trust look like when you're advising both brokerages and the tech companies selling?
I think it's transparency. I think it's open conversation with not only our client, but ensuring that what's being delivered, everything reflects on our reputation as well, right? And so trust, it's for us, it's being transparent and being very clear and making sure that it's not about a sale, it's about the results. It's about going back to what the brokerage needs and what the Proptech company or service provider actually provides, and making sure there's a fit. And a lot of times where we fit in is connecting the dots between the two, where there's not a solid line between the need and the solution. And that's where I find Jeff to be particularly creative, where I've experienced in being creative and finding a solution that maybe wasn't visible on the surface.
And this goes back to our intake process for before we engage with a company. I'm biased. I would say we work with the best companies in their respective spaces, by and large. So when broker comes to us and says, who do you work with? Who do you know? I have no problem, no qualm saying, we work with these two companies, you should take a look at them because we've already vetted them versus their competitors.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a list of every single vendor, then you can just get a listing service that shows you all of the vendors in an Excel spreadsheet. Then you're no better than if you went to Google or went to the Yellow Pages. So
if only there was a website that was out there that had a list of all the different prop techs out there.
That's and there have been attempts at that, but they've been poor attempts and that they weren't executed well. So with Home Quote Advisors, what you guys are doing is giving people access to not just the data of who's out there, but also staggering that in a way that they can see reviews, they can see write-ups. It's much more comprehensive than some of the other things that are out there. So I think that's a needed thing in the space. But even with that, I think that doesn't discount the need or the desire to have someone that has firsthand knowledge get involved and say, cool, you've taken it from 15 down to 2 or 3. What do you know about these companies? And again, most of our clients aren't BD clients on the Proptech side. It's strategy. BD's just there. We just know their company. So when you come to me and say you want X, Y, Z, and I know this company does a really good job, X, Y, and Z, why wouldn't I connect them? It's the right thing to do.
What do clients need to know about Maverix before they get the full value of the relationship?
I don't know that is a question that I've thought through. I would like to believe they don't need to know anything to get the full value of Maverix. We set this up in such a way that every client should feel like they got the full value. We're talking to our clients, maybe not daily, but for sure weekly. We have an entire team, support staff. Like we are as embedded as we should be for the level of engagement that they have us on. So I don't know that there's a way for them to squeeze more out. Just be, communicative. If there's something that you need, don't wait for us to reach out to you. Reach out to us and be like, hey, I'm going to be at this event. What do you think? Or be proactive, but we're also proactive. So I think, who knows, it's only been 2 years, but knock on wood, we've never had a client leave unhappy. And that's by intent. Like we were making sure that no matter what we do, that we keep our brand, front and center and keep our clients happy, even if they leave.
So let's be real here. There's the consultant problem, I think, in the industry as a whole, whether it's on the prop tech side or on the brokerage side, that thousands of dollars, sometimes 6 figures over a course of a year or longer, that, they feel like they've just been burned, and not intentionally. It's they didn't get the value, they didn't get the deliverables that they were hoping to get, or they just didn't get it. And so there's bad experiences with, I don't need another consultant in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, on the contrary, that like you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes spending a little bit of money could result in getting you more. And so whether you're looking at it as a startup brokerage, a startup tech company, there is still a valid, a very valuable need for, what you guys are doing, what some of the others are doing, what the big box ones are doing. But how do you, it's like what we were talking about yesterday, Jeff. Like, there is this, sometimes a stigma that there's, so many different consultants out there or advisors out there, and I don't need them. I don't need them to get ahead.
That's great. Like I said, the earlier when we started this was, if you can do it on your own, mm-hmm. you are doing it or should be doing it. This is for people that realize they can't do it on their own. I'm going to spend 0 time discussing, arguing, persuading someone into believing they're on fire. It's a waste of my time. If they know they're on fire and I have water, then it's just a matter of how valuable the water is to you. I have too many clients that need me, that call me and say, oh, please work with me. I don't need to talk anybody into it. And I think that starts with having aligned in the beginning with exactly what the outcome wants to be and being realistic, protecting against scope creep, because you can sometimes start here with a client. You've been a consultant, you know this. And then next thing you know, the end zones get further and further apart. Next thing you know, doing all kinds of stuff that's out of scope. And then they're mad that you didn't do stuff, but that stuff was never in scope to begin with. And you never right sized the comp part of it. And then sometimes you have a lack of a cheerleader or somebody internally to manage it, to kind of champion it. And that person that was there leaves and all of a sudden no one's there. So there's lots of reasons why somebody might not be happy. But again, we want to make sure if they're engaged with us that they are happy and that we do everything we can to make sure that they have that positive experience.
So what is structurally different about Maverix that prevents the classic consulting failure models? Over-promising, under-delivering, and disappearing after the check clears.
I don't want to say the proof is in the pudding.
Though you're a year and a half old, so the proof isn't in the pudding yet.
Kind of is. We've had 25 clients, currently have 18. Our average retainer fee is about $5,000 a month on average. There's some that are much higher, some that are a little bit lower. You're getting Kevin, who's easily $500,000 a year employee. You're getting me. I think that I'm in the same range for $5,000 a month. How much value do you think we need to bring to justify that $5,000? If I make one phone call and that turns into a huge enterprise deal, like we're not selling our time, we're selling experiences, we're selling the results. And we have tons of people that have been with us for the entire 18 months, or at least more than a year. Happy to provide references for anybody if they feel like they need third-party validation. But we really, I don't know how to, this isn't going to sound great, but we really don't worry too much about trying not to fall in the pitfalls of what other companies are doing or have done. We just do what we do and do it well. And unfortunately, we have run into situations just recently where that somebody's been burned by a consultant. They come in and they're a little bit scarred. We had to kind of massage that in the beginning, but once we get them in flow, they're like, oh my God, this is so much better than the last person we were working with. Like, great, I'm happy to hear that. So I have heard, not even anecdotal, but I have heard firsthand feedback that that's the case.
On the brokerage side, the messaging says the problems are usually systematic, not isolated. Growth, retention, revenue, tech adoption, leadership visibility. Which of those trends is a hidden root issue?
I think they are all, to the theme here, they are all connected. And so one can impact the other, especially depending on the size of the organization and the complexity of the organization. I think a bottom root can be people. And I'm seeing this more and more. And so it's where it's an individual within the organization that is either toxic or somebody that is negatively impacting the ability to grow. So it might be somebody with a negative personality that's impacting the rest of the teams. It could also be somebody that has quiet quit, and that is becoming a roadblock to that brokerage moving forward. I think a lot of people want to point to other solutions. I think a lot of the easiest thing to point to is technology. The easiest thing to point to is investing in more marketing. But those aren't often the root cause. It's oftentimes the people. And then one more to add to that is the structure of the organization that makes it unwieldy to create success, to move forward, to empower.
What's one uncomfortable truth about brokerage growth that more leaders need to hear?
Have to spend more time on a true value proposition rather than things, rather than a laundry list of tech and resources. The value proposition has to be, and we're now taking it one step further. I had a great conversation with a connection that was made recently where we talked through the new attachment economy, where it was the attraction economy and it was the experience economy, and now we're in the attachment economy. And the value proposition for brokerage now has to be a place of belonging, a place where, despite all the tech and remote work and all of the automation and all of this, where people feel connected. And it's not just the younger generation, it's across all generations. There is a drive to feel connected, a part of something, contributing. And so the uncomfortable truth is that your value proposition has to become deeper than what you've been saying for the last 5, 10, 20 years.
That's a great segue back to the tech side, is what Maverix offers, not to larger established companies, but these small kind of earlier stage startups or even beginning to get in the growth stage, we also provide part of our value prop is the feeling of belonging to something. So if you're new and have a great idea and you don't really even know what Inman is or what Risk Media is or what any of this stuff is, you're coming in with this great idea, this great product, but you can't get started. We help you feel like you belong to this industry and make those introductions so that you can build your own friendships. So that word belonging, I think, is maybe a thread that runs through both Proptech and Brokerage.
If a brokerage leader is listening and wondering whether they need a consultant, what are the warning signs that they actually need an operator-minded partner like you guys?
When the answer is not clear, when they're evaluating something, whatever the issue, problem, roadblock, or opportunity might be, and they're not sure how to proceed. The two values that we bring, I mean, there's many value points that we bring. I think one is that we've created success ourselves, but we've also made mistakes ourselves. And if we can help somebody avoid the mistakes that we've made in the past in growing our companies and our businesses, it's a win. So when someone sits back and says, I'm not sure exactly what to do, that's where we can step in.
And adding to that, my short answer is there's two ways to learn. One way is to make mistakes, and it takes you a lifetime to make all the mistakes you could possibly make, and it's very expensive to go that route. The other way is to learn by intentionally, whether you're reading a book or going to school or whatever. And one of those ways to learn intentionally is to pay. You said earlier about shortcuts. There is a little bit of a shortcut. Hiring a consultant that's made mistakes before can help you not make those yourself and save time and save money. So it is kind of a little bit of a hack.
So when somebody calls a current client and they call Jeff or Kevin, are they getting Jeff and Kevin doing the work, or is there a bench behind you doing it?
Depends on who's making the call, depends on what the engagement is, depends on what they need. Kevin's very good at a lot of things I'm not good at. I'm good at
But they're getting you guys, right?
Well, we do have
it's not like you're, no. I'm leading the witness here, because like you guys are the ones. We've talked for the past hour about how it's you guys and your brains and your experiences. They're not getting passed down to a junior associate when they can't get Kevin.
Well, I mean, we have Jeff Corbett and Drew on staff, and in certain situations, we will hand them over to other people because they're a better fit. But we don't bring people on that are junior. They're just better at other things. So we have one client that came in it's a fintech product, and it's a data product. That's not for me, and it's not for Kevin. So Jeff Corbett came and stepped into that, and he's crushing it. Drew is a little bit junior, but there's certain things that he can do. We're not going to put him in a situation to where, he's going to fail. So we're careful. Like, you're going to get the best person at Maverix for whatever that particular engagement is. And nothing's ever done without telling you. Obviously, if we hand you over to somebody else, we explain it, introduce them, we're still involved, even if they're a running point.
Cool. On the Proptech side, how often is a company's problem really the product versus positioning, distribution, or trust?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think it's probably 50-50. I see a lot of products that aren't products, that are features that should just be bolt-on to something that's already existing, but are never going to be a company on their own. I see some products that are amazing, but the founder is the one doing the sales, and that's not going to work. Or they have this price. They're like, yeah, it's only $200 a month per agent, and it doesn't matter what it does. $200 a month is a non-starter for 99.9% agents. So like, there's this. It just depends. I've seen it both ways.
What separates Proptech companies that get meetings from the ones that get adoption?
I think you can get a meeting from being charismatic. You can get a meeting from timing. If you reach out with the right message at the right time to the right person, and they respond and they like the way that you responded, sure. Meetings are not easy to get, but they're much easier to get than adoption. Adoption is a challenge. You can have a good product and a good salesperson at the right price. Cool, the broker buys it, but will the agents actually adopt it? Completely separate beast altogether. Some products are easier to adopt than others through automation or any number of other ways. But really, you need to have a tech company that partners with the brokerage, and you need to have someone in the brokerage that can champion this internally and make sure that they're doing what they need to do. Usually, the vendors will have a roadmap that if you follow, you'll get the results. But often, this may surprise you, brokerages don't follow that roadmap, and then they complain about lack of adoption. So you got to be all be on the same page, and also be clear on what your expectation is. If it's 100% adoption, you're always going to be disappointed. If you can get 30 to 40, 50% adoption on anything, that's pretty strong.
How do you help a prop tech founder tell the difference between interest and real market viability?
Who's willing to write a check? I mean, everybody's casually interested. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it's an AI widget that scratches your back. Oh, that's interesting. There's a lot of cool stuff out there, but will people get their checkbook out? People use checkbooks, credit card out, and actually, commit to a year, 2 years, 3 years. That's where the rubber hits the road. And it's less of a aspirational, I hope this works. Brokers don't have money right now. Well, probably ever, but for sure right now. So they're not looking for, I hope this works. Let's just get this. They want to make sure this is going to make a difference to their bottom line. And by the way, even if it's free, it's still not free to the broker. They have to get it on. They have to integrate the tech stack. They have to get their marketing team to market it. They got to get the agents to know what it is. They got to get the managers on board. Like it's a year-long slog, and they're not going to do that for something that might work or they hope works. It needs to be airtight, and it needs to bring revenue and or retention and or recruiting and or listings and or something back concrete with evidence that proves it for brokers to be interested in it.
When a company says our product works, but growth has stalled, what's the one thing you want to inspect or look for? Maverix says that stalls often come from access, strategy, and execution not working together.
Yeah, we got to figure out what the strategy is and where it stalled. Is it stalled because people stopped answering your calls and you're not even getting the meetings? Are you getting the meetings and then no one's moving forward? Are you moving forward, but then people are pulling out at the last second when they see how hard it is to adopt? Like, where is the pain point? Where are you leaking? Let's identify it, isolate that, then recreate a new strategy around that, and then execute that strategy.
Okay, back to your rebrand. What changed in the rebrand besides the visual identity?
Yeah, when I first started Maverix, I'll be honest, I would probably take any client. I didn't have to because I had friends that worked with me, but like I was open to almost anything. And people would ask me, well, what do you do? Who do you work with? What do you provide? And because I did everything, it was hard to explain. It was like this wordy 4-paragraph answer. So the rebrand is interesting because yes, it's a visual identity. It's crisp. It's a modern logo. We threw the color red, the color of action. The R, if you look at the R in Mavericks, it stands for our rebel kind of tone. We're more of a disruptor maverick, rebel kind of vibe. The X stands for, a multiple. We can 3X your business, or maybe the unknown. Let's see where this goes. Or my marketers hate X marks the spot because it's a pirate fun, but as a dad, I love it. There's a lot of cool stuff around the name. Exactly. I should do that. They'll hate me. So, the logo looks cool. It fits us, right? That wasn't the hard part. Well, it was challenging, but it wasn't the hard part. The hard part was the copy on our website about what we do, what we stand for. And I've never built a company before like this. Like I worked for a company to help them build, but I'm not a marketer. And it made me challenge things that I thought. We also interviewed or surveyed current clients, past clients, 3-hour interview with me, 3-hour interview with Kevin, and then took all that information and boiled it in to make sure that what we thought about ourselves matched up congruently with what our past clients and what our current clients think about us so that we can make sure that our messaging is on spot. There's lots of ways, as you know, it's harder to be succinct and explain something than it is to be verbose. And so access, strategy, execution was the best way to explain what we offer without a bunch of words. And our sub tagline is more results, less noise. We have to be efficient with our time. We have a lot of clients and we have a lot going on, and you have a lot going on. Our clients have a lot going on. We don't have meetings just to have meetings. We don't do standing meetings. If we need something to talk about, I'll always make time for a client, and we take decisive action. So cut all the noise out. Don't need to, all this other stuff. What needs to get done right now that will move the dial? And we focus on that. And I bring in whatever resources I need to bring in to make sure that happens. And so far, it's been very successful. On the rebrand, since that was your original question, yeah, clarity across the board on what we provide. We were going to put a part in there about what we don't do, but I don't feel like I want to focus on that. It really is, what do we do? Who do we work for? What are the results that our clients can expect? And I think this is a step in the right direction to visually sync up our brand identity with what we are in the market, what we are in the industry.
So was part of the rebrand about giving yourself permission to be more direct about who you are and who you are not for? I know you don't put that on the website about who you're not for, but I think that that is part of rethinking who you are.
Yeah, I mean, the clarity, along with clarity, becomes in order, the clearer we are, the more direct we are being. And it's actually refreshing for me because I'm not kind of like gray area, kind of muddled in the middle. Like it fits or it doesn't, and that's okay. And as a salesperson, I hate to ever tell somebody no or to lose potential, a client. But the reality is that not everything is for everybody. So yeah, I really like kind of where we're at.
What should the industry stop expecting from consultants?
If it was as easy as paying a consultant $5,000 and then bringing you $1 million in new business, that would be the absolute best deal in the world. Hire 100 consultants. That's not the case. Our results aren't always as fast as you'd like them to be. Your timeline, your Q2 results, your whatever only matter to you, not to your clients. We're on their timeline. They have summer break, they have spring break, wife has surgery, husbands, whatever stuff happens, and they're trying to live their lives. And we just have to remember that we aren't their priority, even though they may be ours.
What is one thing you hope people misunderstand less about advisory work after listening to this conversation?
I think that the decision to hire an advisor or consultant is a big one. It needs to be thoughtful and intentional. And once you've made that decision, you have a lot of choices of places that you can go for those services. I would fully vet those opportunities, talk to references, and then make sure that your consultants are asking you the right questions as well. If there's no questions being asked by you from the consultant, that means they're too hungry for the business, and that should scare you. They should be pushing back. You're both vetting each other to make sure this is a fit. It's a marriage. At the end of the day, it might not be a long-term marriage, but it's a marriage. And, we, at least at Maverix, see ourselves as fairly embedded in the Proptech side of it. We're part of the team, and we want to make sure that we are part of the team with people that we can trust, respect, and like.
In one sentence, what is the problem that Maverix is built to solve?
Faster growth.
What's success look like for Maverix 12 months from now?
We've got some pokers in the fire. There's things that I cannot share because they might not happen, but I think that they will. I don't know that we want to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. That is really hard to keep a brand and the soul of the brand whole when you have 35 consultants. However, we're always looking for people that can bring something additive that we don't already have coverage of internally, because then that allows me in my conversations to have yet another resource to send people to, if it's a mortgage person or an MLS person or whatever. So we're always looking for ways to kind of fill any deficiencies that we have. Now that the branding is taken care of, really what we're focused on this year is locking down the hatches, and that's a pirate pun for you, locking down the hatches and just really crushing it for our clients. Like at the end of the day, we could not grow for 3 more years and just stay exactly where we're at, and I'd be completely happy. We might grow, but I'm very, very content with where we're at right now and our space and our space in the industry.
What does Maverix do that a traditional consulting engagement does not?
I mean, we were crafted in the spirit of the traditional consulting engagement. So I'd be lying if I said it was a drastic wholesale change. Like, consultants are consultants. We all do some version of the same thing. I do think that typically you have to choose depending on which consultant you use with access, strategy, or execution. And with Mavericks, you don't. You get all of them. And you get access to some Kevin's great, right? To get some access to some very, very talented, successful, smart people for a fraction of what they would actually cost you. And if you can parlay that into value and use it correctly, then I think that's a no-brainer.